Welcome to the Construction Leading Edge, the podcast dedicated to helping construction professionals become better entrepreneurs and leaders. Now, let's get started. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Construction Leading Edge, the site and podcast dedicated to helping construction professionals become more effective entrepreneurs and leaders. Okay, are you a contractor working for a municipal, industrial, or commercial clients? Do your applications for payment or your invoices seem to get bogged down every month and take too long to get approved? Does it sometimes feel like you're a bank, that you're financing the projects you're working on? Well, I want you to imagine what if you could submit an application for payment and get paid when you're supposed to in 30 days without multiple revisions and without battling red tape every month and without beating your head against the wall? If that's something you'd be interested in, this episode will help you out. In this episode, we're going to cover a few things. We'll cover single invoice strategies for small projects that will help you get paid faster. We'll also cover some strategies for larger projects with multiple invoices, or perhaps you call them pay requests, pay applications, draws, etc., and strategies for larger projects that will help you get paid faster. And then we're going to talk about a technology tip. I've got a piece of software that I've been using for the last several years, save thousands of dollars every month, and eliminate a lot of headache for my operation that I want to share with you. So first of all, we'll talk about some invoices for smaller projects that will help you get paid faster on single invoices. These would be projects that you're only going to submit one invoice for. Maybe it's a small project that takes a day, a week, couple of weeks, but it will be covered in one invoice. So here's strategy number one for single invoice projects. One, this is a no-brainer, but I see it all the time. One, get a signed proposal that includes a detailed scope of work and the price that you're going to do it for. Seems basic, but a lot of times on small projects, we just say, yeah, we'll take care of it. We give them a price over the phone, and we're so busy doing other stuff that we don't get a signed proposal. And then you have no recourse. When somebody says, oh, I didn't sign the proposal, I didn't really want you to do it, I didn't think it was going to be that much, I thought it was an estimate, I thought it would come in lower, etc., all these excuses. If you have a signed proposal with a detailed scope of work and a price and that customer's signature on it, then your case is much stronger. I actually had a guy, I sent a proposal to him for a small job that would take about a day. It was a few $1,000s, detailed scope of work, and a price on it. And we did the work. He signed off on the proposal. Then he came back and said, oh, I didn't think it was going to take that long. I thought it was going to be a lot less. Your price was kind of high, etc. We held up the signed proposal that said, hey, this is what we said we were going to do. This is what you said you were going to do. What's the problem? And we got a check not too long after that. So that by itself will save a lot of problems. Take the extra 10, 15 minutes, whatever you have to do, get a written proposal, put a price on it, and get a signature on it. Next, ask for a down payment up front. If this is a customer that you've not worked with in the past, there's nothing wrong with asking for a down payment. Maybe you get 30% upfront, 50% upfront. This, coupled with the signed proposal, will qualify your prospects to see if they're real. And frankly, this is not unusual. For some reason, we think it's unusual in the construction world to request a down payment or require a down payment, but people do it all the time. Very few other industries will will require the service provider to do 100% of the work before they get any money. So if someone doesn't want to pay a down payment, you may have a non-payer on your hands. So ask for a down payment up front. See if they have any money. That will qualify your prospects. If it's a small project, ask for a credit card number up front. Same thing. You may not have to charge the money. You may not take a down payment, but at least you have a credit card number to hit if you have problems getting paid. And what I like to do typically on small projects is I'll have let's say a 50% profit margin on a small project, and I'll ask for 50% down. That way my costs are covered buy the down payment in the event they don't pay. So that takes care of the customers, it covers my cost, and then if we have an issue with a slow pay or no pay, then we're fighting for profit at that point, and we have our bases covered. So those are 3 simple strategies for small projects that require one single invoice. Now, the bulk of what I want to talk about involves multiple invoices. These would be larger projects that could span months, years, even, where you have a typical monthly pay request, a pay application, a draw that you have to go through. And I want to talk about some common objections that clients will have that slow down your payment, and then we'll talk about some strategies for how to handle them. Okay, objection number 1. The client says, quote, "We don't agree with your completed work quantities. We don't think you actually did the work that you said you did on your pay request." Now, this could be due to the fact that either the inspector's records differ from yours, or maybe the inspector didn't keep any records. Either way, the best solution is to document your completed work on a daily or weekly basis, preferably daily, because if you have to reconcile something, it's much better to reconcile it in small, daily, bite-sized portions than it is to try to reconcile it in, say, a monthly bite. So document your completed work on a daily basis, some sort of electronic format, and then reconcile that information with the inspector every week. If you have an engineer or an architect or a project inspector that's tracking quantities that will eventually look over your pay request, don't wait until the end of the project to try to reconcile it. If you have an issue, reconcile it on a weekly basis. So document daily, if it makes sense for you to do that, but reconcile completed quantities and your schedule of values quantities with the inspector every week. It may seem like overkill, but in a lot of cases it'll save you problems. If you have an issue, then you're dealing with 1 week, not 1 month or 2 months or whatever your pay request may be. The electronic format makes it much easier to search for errors. And doing this weekly ensures that the issue is still in someone's short-term memory. If you're like me, something may be really fresh on your mind on Friday afternoon. Come Monday or Tuesday, it's moved from short-term memory to long-term memory, and maybe there's some alcohol consumption that has taken place on the part of your inspector, your engineer, your architect, and that conversation that was really clear and that understanding and agreement you came up with on Friday is now long gone. So reconcile this stuff on a weekly basis, and it will make your life a lot better. Beyond that, it's a good idea to spend some time with your engineer, architect, or inspector on a regular basis. Sit down with them, go out to coffee, take them out to lunch if they'll let you, if they don't have some sort of anti-gratuity situation that they're dealing with, because building rapport and trust alone can go a long way toward avoiding problems. I've seen it so many times where I've started off with a new client, a new engineer, a new inspector, and every detail is scrutinized. Every quantity, every issue is just put through the ringer. But then after we build some rapport, after we build some trust, then those questions go away. And time after time I've seen where I've been able to build relationships with folks where they say, "We trust you. I'm sure there's no problem. We'll just run your invoice right through and we get paid promptly." So the way to deal with the objection that we don't agree with your work quantities is, again, document your completed work quantities in electronic format on a daily basis or small bite-sized portions, whatever makes the most sense for you, and then reconcile those quantities with whomever is going to be reviewing your pay request on a weekly basis. Spend a little time with your inspector, architect, engineer, build some relationship. This is one thing that I've seen over the course of the last several interviews I've done on this podcast is that relationship. It all comes back to relationship. So the more you can tap into that human relationship, the better off you'll be, even on a business side. Okay, objection number 2 for large multi-invoice projects. Quote, "We can't pay for fill in the blank because it's not in the contract or the budget." All right. Maybe you've been in this situation. An unforeseen condition is found. Let's say, for example, you're doing foundation work and the excavation crew hit rock, and rock wasn't in the contract. Maybe they encountered some contaminated soil. Maybe you're doing a utility project and additional traffic control was required. Some sort of obstacle popped up, And in order to try to keep the project moving, the inspector or the client or engineer says something like this: hey, listen, go ahead and do the work. We'll figure out how to pay for it later. Have you ever heard those words? Sounds great. Hey, go ahead and do the work. We'll figure it out later. Now, have you ever heard that before and thought, great, we're all in this together, but then when you try to get paid for it, you slammed into a wall? The best way to avoid this is to clearly and promptly document any field changes and get proper approval in writing, or at least in email, before proceeding with the work. Now, you may be thinking, I don't have time for this. The walls are burning down. We've got crews hanging, standing by. We've got equipment running. I've got all this overhead, and I can't take time to get a document signed off on. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to work for free? That's the decision you have to make. Do you want to take some time and get this situation properly handled, this change order situation properly handled before you do the work? Or do you want to do the work and then potentially do the work for free? That's the decision you have to make. So the way to handle the we can't pay for this because it's not in the budget, or we can't pay for this because you didn't get a change order, is to properly document it, get approval before you do the work, and then proceed with the work. Very basic. Take some discipline. Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen contractors eat tens of thousands of dollars in unapproved change orders, even when somebody said on-site verbal approval, hey, go ahead and do it. We'll figure it out later. Objection number 3. This one's a little tricky. And if you've been working on a big project that has multiple players in it, you've probably seen this. Here's the objection. Your application for payment is pending approval from fill in the blank. Could be engineer, architect, mayor, city council, purchasing, the bank, etc. So you've gotten to the point where you've done the work successfully. You've gotten the architect, engineer, or inspector to sign off on your quantities. Everybody's signed off on it. The pay request has gone through. You're waiting for the check, but there's some other outside agency that has affected your pay request, and you're caught in this labyrinth of approvals, and your money's held up. Now, this may seem like something you have absolutely no control over, and you can't do anything about, but the reality is you can. Because it's not unusual for some projects to require approval by up to 6, 8, 10 different agencies: inspectors, consultants, engineers, city council, bank, architects, engineers, etc. I think I said engineers twice, but sometimes you have a couple of those, and they each have their own internal processes and their own schedules. Sometimes it feels like the stars need to align before you can get your freaking money. And to me, that's bureaucracy in all its splendor. I saw a quote by a guy named Javier Salcedo, and it was, "Bureaucracy is the art of making the possible impossible." Again, bureaucracy is the art, it's a form of art of making the possible impossible. And if you've ever tried to get your money on a big project with 5, 6, 7, 8 different players that all have to approve your check, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So here's the best way I found to solve this puzzle. All right, follow these steps. And if you want this information, I'll have the show notes on the website, and you can go and find it there. So in case you're driving, walking, running, working out, etc., you don't have to worry about writing it down. Just go to the website. You'll find all of this information, and you can find it there. So step number 1, in the effort to try to solve the puzzle of getting multiple approvals in a timely manner, and this can be done. I've done it myself. Trust me, it can be done. The stars can align. So step number 1, develop a comprehensive list of all the players who will have to review and approve. Let me start over. Develop a comprehensive list of all the players who will review and approve your pay application, or they have the power to hold up your money. Do this before you do any work. I'm talking pre-construction meeting, before you do work. Develop a list of everybody who is going to affect your pay schedule. Next, schedule schedule a pre-construction meeting or a conference call with that entire group. Get everybody on the phone, all the players, in a room or on the phone with the express intent of discussing payment approval process. Next, find out if there are certain milestone dates that affect payments. For example, city council meetings, quarterly bank meetings, monthly purchasing meetings. There could be milestones that could be events that will affect your payment that only happen once a week, once a month, once a quarter. And you need to know what those dates are so that you can take the next step, which is step number 4. Again, step number 1 is develop a comprehensive list of all the players. Step number 2 is have a meeting with all of those players to talk about the approval process. Step number 3, find out if there are certain milestone dates, weekly, monthly, quarterly milestone dates that affect your payment. Step number 4 is establish the sequence of approvals that needs to be followed. Chances are all these players that will affect your ability to get paid have not gone through this process, and I guarantee that none of them are as interested as you are in getting you paid promptly. So, establish the sequence of approvals that needs to be followed. Here's what a sequence could look like. Step number 1, inspector signs off. Step number 2, engineer signs off. Step number 3, consultant signs off on your pay request. Step number, whatever step we're on. Next, architect signs off. Next, project manager. Then there could be a department head. There could be a city council. There could be a board of directors. And you need to find out who needs to look at the pay request first. Who needs to look at it, and then who needs to look at it after that, who needs to look at it after that. Establish the sequence of approvals that need to be followed. And again, you're doing this in a meeting with all of the players, so you're getting their buy-in in the process. Next, you take all that information, you go lock yourself in your office, and you develop a schedule that overlays these milestone dates that must be met with this sequence of approvals. Okay, this probably sounds really hard to grasp, but let me give you an example. For example, here's what your schedule looks like. The 25th of the month, the contractor ends the billing period. The 5th of the following month, contractor submits a pay application to the resident inspector. By the 7th of the month, the inspector submits the approved pay application to the engineering consultant. By the 10th of the month, the engineering consultant completes the review of the pay application. By the 3rd Thursday of the month, the engineer presents the pay application to the city council for approval. And what we're working toward is that before it gets to the city council, the engineer needs to approve it, the inspector needs to approve it, the inspector needs to approve it, and the contractor needs to submit the pay application. So on the 3rd Thursday of the month, the engineer presents it to the city council for final approval, at which point everyone has signed off on it, and then by the 30th of the month, payment is issued. So you've had this meeting, you've developed a schedule like this that has dates, time frames, and you send it out to the group and ask for their agreement and their approval with that process before you do work. Again, this is all happening prior to construction beginning. If you will do this, this will map out the process of approval. It will get buy-in from everybody that's involved, and they will, in the process, buy into and agree to a time frame for review. They will agree that they need 2 working days, 5 working days, 10 working days to review it and get back to you with any issues or approve it and move it on to the next person. I hope that makes sense. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've used these strategies successfully to keep accounts receivable under control. I've worked on projects ranging up to $100 million working with a publicly traded real estate investment trust. I've done this with corporate clients like Procter & Gamble, Duke Energy, with financial institutions, with healthcare organizations, with municipalities. And these strategies work, and what you have to realize is, as I said before, nobody is as interested in you getting paid promptly as you are. So you need to take the reins of the process, map out the process, get everyone's agreement and approval on the time frames and the review process, and then put it in writing, send it out. That way, when you do what you said you were going to do and you submit your pay request on time, and someone in that chain is not reviewing and approving it like they said they were, you can remind them of that and say, hey, we agreed on this back at the beginning of the project. What's the problem? No guarantees. You don't have a lot of leverage over your clients, but it is better than trying to sort through it reactively. So, do you have any strategies that you use? If you do, please post a comment on this blog. Go to the website, go to the blog on this episode, and leave a comment. I'd like to hear your strategies for getting paid promptly. Of course, this is not by any means an all-inclusive or exhaustive list of payment strategies, but these are some tips and tricks that I've found to be very successful. Now, I told you I wanted to tell you about some technology that I've used that has saved me a lot of headache and saved my company a lot of money. So here's the question. Do you need help tracking timesheets for your hourly employees? Or do you find yourself muddling through the headaches of paper timesheets? Are you spending a lot of time sorting through paychecks that are wrong for your hourly employees, trying to track down timesheets, looking at some combination of email, phone messages, text messages, and trying to take all that information and amalgamate it into a timesheet? If you are in that situation, don't feel bad. I was in that situation a few years ago, and it was crazy. Paychecks were wrong. We were spending 20 plus man hours a week to assemble timesheets for 30 people. It was just outrageous. And the answer to our problem was a company called T-Sheets. And I'll have a link on the show notes to T-Sheets, and also on my resources page, there's a link to T-Sheets. But here's the deal. T-Sheets is a web-based, mobile-friendly time tracking system. So you can have your employees track time via, if you're in the construction industry and you have people out on job sites, you can have them clock in to using a virtual time card system, essentially, using their smartphone. They can use a not smartphone by text messaging, which is beautiful. They can also do desktop entry if necessary to enter their timesheets. All that information goes to a web-based back end that you can look at in real time, and then it compiles these beautiful reports that you can run payroll from. There's also QuickBooks integration. Maybe even it may integrate with some other payroll packages, but it's a great system. It saves us about $2,000 a month in time. It also allows us to be more accurate with our timesheets, and morale is up because every week 1 or 2 paychecks were wrong, and there's no better way to piss somebody off than to screw up their paycheck, believe me. So check it out. It's a huge time saver. Go to the link in the show notes, go to the resources page, and check out T-Sheets. If you're having issues tracking time, even if you're not having issues tracking time, I encourage you to check it out. They have a free trial. Listen, these folks they're fun. They have fantastic customer service, fantastic customer support, and it's slick. Okay, I strongly recommend it. So check it out, T-Sheets. Go to the resources page or check out the link in the show notes. Well, listen, that's it. That puts this episode in the can for the Construction Leading Edge. Hey, do you have questions? Send me an email. My email address is todd@Construction Leading Edge. If you like this podcast, do me a favor. Send me an email. Let me know. If you have suggestions, questions, comments, send me an email. Hit me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at @ConLeadEdge. And hey, if you like this podcast, do me a big favor. Leave a review on iTunes for me if you would. Hey guys, have a great one. I hope this has helped you. Have a great day. Take care.